but the last 2 weeks it's been about her. But, Van Jones says, I want people knocking on doors. They're having to send home canvassers because they have so many. And on Saturday, this was incredible. The Harris campaign was knocking on 2,000 doors a minute across Pennsylvania.
As Donald Trump is melting down to close this campaign, so are his friends at the Fox propaganda outlet, because they are coping with the fact that Donald Trump is behind. Earlier this week, we saw an incredible PLL out of Iowa showing Donald Trump trailing VP Harris by 3 points. And then today, we saw another poll out of Nevada showing VP Harris ahead. Everything is going so wrong for the Trump campaign, and Fox cannot spend enough lies to try to change that in. So they are melting down, specifically Jesse Waters is, which always makes us so happy, especially because part of the reason why he is upset is Jessica Tarlov, the only person on Fox we really ever like to hear from, shutting down his lies and calling out the failures of Donald Trump. And we are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way. And it really means the world to me. Now let's get into this incredible Asian for the purposes of, Jessica shutting down Jesse and doing a little calling out of a mom. Let's take a look.
Isn't it an interesting microcosm of America? Lady Gaga endorsing Kamala, but Lady Gaga's dad endorsing Trump. So who has a closer grip on reality of everyday Americans? The one who feels the effects of a bad economy or crime or immigration, the restaurant owner in a crime-plagued city, or the pop star, his daughter. Shouldn't she listen to her dad instead of her friends?
I think she's listening to herself. She was born this way, and she has always lived this way. And I don't think we need to pit families against each other. He has had success, and she has obviously had wild success and is an incredible talent. And there's no reason to minimize her for this. There is reason to consider if there will be someone who sees this as the final night is just about stars and it's not about Kamala Harris making her pitch. She will, I'm sure, give her same stump speech that she has been giving, which has been wildly effective. Now, in every survey, the late breakers are going for Kamala by double-digit margins. And Trump used to be leading in that category of people who were deciding closer to the end from 4 to 6 weeks out. But the last 2 weeks, it's been about her. But, Van Jones says, I want people knocking on doors. They're having to send home canvassers because they have so many. And on Saturday, this was incredible. The Harris campaign was knocking on 2,000 doors a minute across Pennsylvania.
2,000 a minute, you say?
A minute.
A minute. My goodness.
Yeah, and you just don't hear those kinds of stories from the Trump campaign. Now, that's not to say that they don't exist. They're not lies. My mom is right now in Scranton knocking on doors.
Really?
Oh.
What? You got something against my mom now?
What?
Oh, you said it.
Of course not. No, we all said wow.
Wow. Oh, okay. Anyway, the closing message differential is so stark, though, and you are seeing the effect of this on people who are making these late decisions and just the conversations about how it's ending. So Donald Trump has had to be in North Carolina, which I'm sure he's not thrilled about. So that's the only battleground state that he actually won. He had to go back there. And this rally that he gave yesterday morning, the first one, the morning in Pennsylvania, where he did everything from saying, he shouldn't have left in 2020 to that weird comment about, shooting the media, that they'd have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much. So his spokesperson had to come out and clarify that. Now, if you want to say everything about Trump taken out of context, it doesn't matter. He only has a finite amount of time left to tell the American public that their lives will be better under another Trump administration than under a Kamala Harris administration. And she's the one that's actually making those connections. She's the one that's convincing people that she'd be as good on the economy. She's completely erased his lead there.
It is. We will get into that in the B block. She seems to be actually not talking about any policy at all, Judge.
Yeah, so I'm curious. When people go knock on doors, what do they say Kamala's policy is? Other than, you know, she's this great person who wanted to decriminalize the crossing of the border by illegals and who wanted to ban fracking and confiscate guns and eliminate private health insurance. When they knock on doors, I'm curious as to whether they have answers for that.
Interesting to see Jessica mom be the topic of conversation rather than Jesse. Of course, we know Jesse Watt's mom, not the fondest of his political opinions. And we saw a couple weeks ago, Jesse was disinvited from Thanksgiving. I'm not surprised why, but Jessica really hitting the nail on the head there, talking about the incredible clothes that we have seen from the VP Harris campaign, in contrast to the disaster last 10 days that Donald Trump has had. Of course, really what sparked that more than anything was his Madison Square Garden hate fest. And since then, it's just been downhill for Donald Trump. Well, VP Harris is barnstorming swing states, delivering her message, and Jesse is very clearly upset about that message that she's delivering and decided why not be a little racist on Fox. That's what they're known for, and that's what he did right here.
Why isn't she trying?
I think that she is trying. She's just not pandering in an overt way.
She panders to everybody else.
Not really, actually.
What do you mean not really?
Well,
she's saying, hey, blacks, we're going to give you weed.
But that wasn't until there was a complaint that there wasn't a specific plan for black men. That was the problem.
So weed is the answer?
No, it was more. It was more than weed, and you all know it. So.
Oh, yeah, it was money.
That's right.
Yeah,
Crypto.
everyone likes money. You guys, on a normal day, you had said the only color that matters is green, but you want to bash Kamala Harris. So
I like
now you say
tax
it's this.
cuts, not welfare.
That this isn't about welfare. And also, a lot of Republican voters, by the way, use entitlements, which is what we call it when we're not being disrespectful. Anyway, using your male surrogates makes sense. The gender gap, I assume, will be historic. The question is, how much ground?
That is exactly the type of weird behavior we have come to expect from Jesse Waters at this point. But he decided that one bit of bigotry wasn't enough, had to double down. And so Jesse, as he always does, decided to bust out the missog because it was getting a little dry on the segment. And he said something yesterday before we get into the rest of Jessica Takedown today that I think everyone missed, that we need to take a look at.
You know what? Shame on women for voting in Biden. Let's talk about that for a second, because women's voting records has been, shall we say, spotty. They voted a guy in office who was addicted to spending and kept leaving the gate open. It's almost like he became a woman once women gave him power.
What is wrong with Jesse? He does the most disingenuous. He's kind of smirking. He's winking at the audience. He knows that he's lying. He knows that it's a bit, but maybe it's not. It's so weird how he presents himself. He does this frat, bro, conservative style. It's so gross. It's so unappealing. And it's everything that we are trying to get rid of that would be the Trump administration and kind of their style and their fake machismo, and that carried over to Jess's conversation about VP Harris appeals to men. And this election, which Jessica aptly called him out for in this clip right here.
What I don't understand is why Kamala has never personally tried to appeal to men. That she just deputized Bill and Timmy and Dougie.
The beer didn't do it for you.
All of these guys. She never tried. It's kind of like the border. She never tried. Men will vote for women. I would vote for Judge Jeanine. I would vote for Dana Perino. I would vote, if Megyn Kelly ran for president, I'd vote for Megyn Kelly. Jessica, I don't agree with your policies. But I would vote for Sarah Huckabee Sanders. If I lived in Arizona, I might vote for Carrie Lake.
What?
I knew you'd say that, but I would. Because I care about the economy and the border. But she doesn't even try. And if this is supposed to be a close election, why wouldn't you try yourself to appeal to men? Men are very open-minded despite what women say.
Jessica, why isn't she trying?
I think that she is trying. She's just not
I think where Jesse gets it wrong, and he gets it wrong a lot, is that he thinks appealing to men means behaving in the disgusting way that Donald Trump does, that fake tough guy act, that insecure bully act that he does. VP Harris isn't about that, and she's not going to appeal to people who only recognize masculinity in its worst form. She wants to present, I wouldn't say necessarily a positive masculinity as herself, but she wants to present a positive way of thinking about this country that doesn't include subjugating women, which is what Donald Trump clearly wants to do. And someone who I think delivered such an important message and of such an important appeal to men was Michelle Obama in this clip right here.
So to the men who love us, let me just try to paint a picture of what it will feel like if America, the wealthiest nation on earth, keeps revoking basic care from its women, and how it will affect every single woman in your life. Your girlfriend could be the one in legal jeopardy if she needs a pill from out of state or overseas, or if she has to travel across state lines because the local clinic closed up. Your wife or mother could be the ones at higher risk of dying from undiagnosed cervical cancer because they have no access to regular gynecological care. Your daughter could be the one too terrified to call the doctor if she's bleeding during an unexpected pregnancy. Your niece could be the one miscarrying in her bathtub after the hospital turned her away. And this will not just affect women. It will affect you and your sons. The devastating consequences of teen pregnancy won't just be borne by young girls, but also by the young men who are the fathers. They too will have their dreams of going to college. Their entire future is totally upended by an unwanted pregnancy. If you and your partner are expecting a child, you will be right by her side at the checkups, terrified if her blood pressure is too high, or if there's an issue with the placenta, or if the ultrasound shows that the embryo was implanted in the wrong place, and the doctors aren't sure that they can intervene to keep the woman you love safe. If your wife is shivering and bleeding on the operating room table during a routine delivery gone bad, her pressure dropping as she loses more and more blood, or some unforeseen infection spreads and her doctors aren't sure if they can act, you will be the one praying that it's not too late. You will be the one pleading for somebody, anybody, to do something. And then there is the tragic but very real possibility that in the worst case scenario, you just might be the one holding flowers at the funeral. You might be the one left to raise your children alone. See, these are just some of the ways women die during childbirth. And I don't want to be a downer, y'all. But in many cases, there is no warning, and things go bad very quickly. And when it happens, every second of hesitation or delay can lead to devastating outcomes. So I am asking y'all from the core of my being to take our lives seriously. Please, do not put our lives in the hands of politicians, mostly men, who have no clue or do not care about what we as women are going through.
It's not about the fake tough guy act. It's not about pretending to be strong. It's about actually being strong. It's about actually supporting those in your life who you love. That's what it's about. That's what Michelle Obama is saying, and that is what the VP Harris campaign will do when it becomes the Calm Hers PR presidency. And we're going to be talking about that every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video, and if you're stuck around at the end, you drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.